Thank you, Cathaoirleach. And I just want to raise a couple of short points about Dublin, by no means exhaustive. The very last thing I want to do is talk down Dublin. Dublin is a phenomenal mid-sized European capital with huge success and huge potential, and the last thing that we want to do is talk it down. But at the same time, I think we need to be realistic about some of the challenges that Dublin face. We often hear in this House correctly about rural Ireland, but I think it's reasonable for Dublin deputies to stand up and say that we think we can do better and be more ambitious for Dublin than sometimes we have to date. And there's a couple of key things around that. The first is infrastructure, and in particular Dublin Airport and some of the challenges with Dublin Airport. It is not reasonable that we set ourselves up as a modern economy, inviting people, having a trade model, inviting foreign direct investment, for people to come here, set up businesses and bring employees here to live and work here, and to not be able to get a taxi when they get to Dublin Airport, or to not be able to confidently use a credit card in a taxi when they get to Dublin Airport. It is not reasonable that you go to Dublin Airport at 5 p.m. or 5:30 in the evening for a flight to any part of Europe, and there's nowhere, for example, to be able to get a sandwich. These things don't seem like a big deal. Can you imagine it happening in another airport? This is just not professional. It's just not good enough. These things should just work properly and easily. They're not the creation of new infrastructure. They're simply things working properly, and it's a basic standard that we should have for ourselves. The perceptions of Dublin and sentiment, and we've had a lot of talk recently about public order and how Dublin is perceived. Is it more unsafe? Is it perceived to be more unsafe? What has happened during COVID that has influenced that? And I note that the Garda Síochána used to do a public attitude survey of Dublin, but that hasn't been done since 2019. And certainly my view is that things have changed quite a lot during COVID, and it has felt different. Whether it is different, it has felt different for different reasons. Perhaps there are fewer people in the city on a day-to-day basis. But I think it's really important that that sentiment tracker be picked up again and be done now, so that we can understand how people in Dublin really are feeling. And I think it's also important to ask business how they're feeling and what the business sentiment is, because businesses in Dublin day to day, I've spoken to shop owners, to pub owners, to a whole range of different people who are working in hospitality and trying to get home at night. What's that experience? Are they fearing public order problems? Are they experiencing public order problems? So between public attitudes and business sentiment, I think it's really important that we go and ask people how do they feel about Dublin and see how that has changed. The third thing is the labour market. Every single part of this economy is under pressure in relation to the labour market. From construction to tech to finance to hospitality, everyone is under pressure in relation to labour. And there's a circularity to our difficulties with respect to housing, with respect to infrastructure. They're compounding each other, but it is limiting our ability to be ambitious for Dublin in so many different ways. I was in the United States in the last number of months, and I was really struck, whenever you're anywhere else, at the scale and volume of rental accommodation that is available there in much more dense situations, and the quality of amenities that are provided within the rental accommodation to people living and working in different cities for whatever period that they're there. And I was just thinking, we just don't have the same availability or the same range of accommodation in Dublin for the range of different people who want to live here, the sheer volume of accommodation that we need, and all of these things are circular. But at the end of the day, Dublin is a mid-sized European capital, and it hasn't changed. Its topography hasn't changed as quickly as its demographic has changed, as quickly as its income has changed, its income as a city, as the number of people who are working here have changed. And I really think that we have to set the highest ambition for Dublin on a comparative basis. If we're going to compete internationally, it's not that Dublin and Wicklow are competing with each other. It's not that Finglas and Tallaght are competing with each other. Dublin is competing with the other capital cities in Europe for investment, for the best of people, for the best of businesses, for the best of employment opportunities. Dublin is competing with Amsterdam. These are the decisions that are being made around the world about where to locate business, where to locate employment, where to locate opportunity. And I want that opportunity for Irish people. I want that opportunity for people in Ireland who want to be Irish people, who want to stay in Ireland, who want to contribute to Ireland, and who want to have a great life here, because that great life is possible. But I think we have not been ambitious enough for Dublin, that we need to set our ambition higher in respect of infrastructure, in respect of housing, and I think we should do that in an unashamed way. I think we should unashamedly set our ambition as high as possible, that everything that we have should work and work properly and correctly, that we should correctly test and assess sentiment and see where people really are, how they really feel about the city, what's working and what's not, and be honest about the things that are not working, that we should set our ambitions for housing at the highest possible level of a really broad range of different types of accommodation, accessible to the complete range of people that are here and easily accessible, not just in terms of price but also in terms of speed and flexibility of the different rental models that are there. And I think it's only by really understanding that circularity and talking to talking to the groups that can really design an ambitious Dublin and see where are we and where are we should be, that we can really achieve the best, not for the people of Dublin, but the people of Ireland more broadly, because Dublin is the engine, whether we want it to be or not to be, Dublin is the engine of the Irish economy, and we have to really start treating it like that in a really serious way. Thank you, Caroline.